Alright everybody, so this video we're going to go ahead and do a little recone on this 8. Hands are kind of dirty right now, but it doesn't matter since we're just pulling the thing apart. It's got a bad tensile lead, it looks like. Don't really know what it was caused from, but it's a used sub. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and check the impedance. It's just a cheap Walmart multimeter, I've had it for years. I'm going to put one in each terminal, doesn't matter which, positive or negative. And then you get real quiet and let it read. So that coil's doing okay. It's coming out at 4 ohms. You can see if you mess with it, it messes with the reading, so that's why you don't want to talk too much. But we know that coil's good. But sadly, get on this side, and this one is reading open circuit. It's no good. If I go in here and play with the tensile lead a little bit, it might trip it. Yeah, see, if I touch the tensile lead, it tries to read, but the tensile's pretty burnt up. The coil is probably okay, which is a shame. That's caused from probably clipping. If you clip it, it's going to heat up those tensile leads. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take it apart. Honestly, not sure if I'm going to even need a knife on this. Might just try to peel up the rubber. Well, this is a foam surround, so it might just peel back, which is pretty nice. Makes it easy to gut these things. So this is the DC Audio M38. It's entry level 8 that they provide. I've heard a lot of these and they sound really good. They're very good sound quality speakers. And you can get them to play low and take a fair amount of power, but they're not invincible. So that's why I Recone this guy. I also will be doing a build with these, so that's kind of, I've been collecting them up, so I can do that. So anyway, now, I don't know if you can see, but in here, see those little bolts right there? Those are to hold the spider down. Probably have to undo those, and looks like it's a metric 2.5. Seems to fit. I'm just gonna undo all these little guys. Might take a few minutes, so we'll cut to that. There's also the bolt downs for the tensile leads right here. So we're going to undo those nuts, and it's pretty straightforward. Looks like the only gluing you'd have to do on the new Recone is the surround and probably the dust cap. So that's pretty nifty. I'm going to go ahead and get it to that point and then show you what the sub looks like with no soft parts, and then we'll get the Recone and put that in. So let me cut to this being out. Alright, so I'm having a little bit of trouble getting these bolts out. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut the spider out first, and then should be able to get in there and pull the bolts a little easier. So we're just going to go all the way around the spider. Cut the tensile leads. There's the coil. Looks like it was clipped a little bit. It looks like we have some stuff scraping around. Looks like he put a bubble in the former right here, and it wore the coil out probably, and then burnt the tensile lead from the coil going bad. So that's a definite bubble right there, and that's just from clipping. See, it happened in a few places. It just got a little hot, kind of expanded this, and it scrubbed itself until it shorted. So that's a shame. You can see the dual spider pack. Pretty well built little sub. So again, excuse my hands. I'm working on the Jeep. So now the next thing is going to be just trying to get these little bolts out, and they appear to be kind of stuck. So I already broke one. Hopefully the hardware store has the right size for these little guys. But I'm going to get these off and go from there. See what we're kind of working with. Alright, so this was supposed to be a little easier than it is. A little bit too much Loctite or something on these bolts, because I broke about every single one other than two. So I have to get those replaced. Now I basically got everything unbolted. I'm just going to break loose the spider thing, because that gets replaced. Try to get these little terminals out of here. So there's the top spider. I was gonna get down there for that bottom spider. I'm gonna push these little terminals out of here. Alright everybody, we're back to working on this little DC Audio 8, doing the Recones in these. I actually have 3 of them that I'm going to be putting in my Honda, and this is going to be the continuation of what I did before. We've moved shops, so starting up again on these. But if we left off, I was taking this ring off. This is what you end up with, is the spider landing, and now it needs to be cleaned. And we see some of the bolts broke off. These seem to have that problem. So I'm going to grind them flat with the air tool here, and then clean it real good, clean all the glue off. We're going to go up on this. This is the surround landing. That's got to be cut off and cleaned also. And then as you notice, I put some tape on the pole gap here so that we want to get any more dirt into it than we wanted. The problem is it's magnetic, and we don't want a bunch of metal chips going in there to getting stuck. We definitely have to do a cleaning process in order to do the Recone, but we're going to try to keep it to a minimum. So let's go ahead and start cleaning this basket up a little bit. I got the compressor hooked up, so if you end up hearing it in the background, I apologize. But let me go ahead and do this. Alright, so now we got this thing pretty cleaned up here. I'm just going to go around and double check with this paper towel. Just wipe up the excess. This is a little bit of stuff on the towel still. So you know it's a little dirty. We'll go around. You don't have to do this perfectly. You just get it pretty close. There can be a little bit of paint. As long as it's stuck on good, it's okay. But I like to expose some metal. That way I have something to really bond the parts with. We're gonna go over here and take the air, blow it out some. Let's get it real clean. All the loose stuff, get it all off there. And then what I like to do too is a roll of painter's tape. Take a piece off. You'll see little metal shavings stuck on kind of in this area. If you're magnetized, look at all that metal. So just go around and pick it up with the tape. As good as you can. And blow it out. Some even gets on the outside of the sub, so you can pick that up now before you get too much further into it. Just kind of pick up the shavings. No big deal, really. But the cleaner, the better. Okay, now we're at the point where we can pull this tape off the pull vent. Just keep stuff out of it while you have it open. There you go. And you're going to continue with your tape here and get it in some light and look down this vent, down the pull piece, and you'll see a little bit of those metal shavings. I'm still going around poking some tape in with the Q-tip to stick on little shavings I find. There's always some. The more you work with the sub before putting tape on, like I think I made the mistake of a lot of disassembly before really taping off the pull. The more you do without the tape, the dirtier it gets in here. And it's the metal shavings that you're worried about because those don't blow out very easily. You just go find them with the tape and stick them out. But you go around a bunch of times and blow it from both the pull vents and then from top of the pole too. Working your way. And little bits kind of come up. They're still stuck magnetically, but they get to where you can get them. They're accessible. And just keep going until you're not really seeing anymore. This one looks pretty clean. I'll blow it from the top down. Just get a good eye on it. Double check you got all the little spots. You can't really see any of them on camera. It's something you just have to see. But they're little metal flakes. And you just want to get them out of there. A few over here. I go a little overkill and spend too much time on this part, but I just hate to see any metal get caught up with the coil when it's moving later on. These are pretty big gaps in these motors, so these aren't so critical, but there are some speakers that are pretty tight. And anything that gets in there messes with it, so this, if you're going to take your time, this is the time to do it. Looking pretty good. So anyway, now we have the pull gap cleaned. We have the basket cleaned. Everything's been wiped down. It's time to start aligning and fitting our shims to drop our coil in. So we'll try to get you over the sub little bore so you can look down on it. So there's a few different kind of kits you're gonna get. For this 8-inch woofer, it comes pre-assembled with the spider hooked up to the coil, which is pretty nice. Tensile leads are stitched in. Then the cone is separate and it goes together later once you assemble. And I'll tell you why once we get to it on the 8. On a lot of the larger subs like 12s and other sizes, if you buy a Recone kit from DC, you'll get everything just like this, all in one piece. So let's go ahead and explain why that is. But first I'm going to go ahead and clean this out. Make sure your part's clean too. And we're going to get our shims going wherever I put them. But first I'll do a little drop fit and tell you why. Okay, these 8s snap in pretty decent. The rings, you're typically not going to have these plastic rings on those subs, but DC8 does use them and I like them. Makes it a little simpler. And again, you don't have to bolt these in. I'm going to go ahead and CI glue it only. From factory they come bolted and I think it's just impossible to save the bolts and the holes. But anyway, that's kind of what you do. You drop this guy in, make sure everything's fitting. The reason why the 8s come in 2 parts, cone and spider, is because these little connections, you only can access them while you have the cone out to bolt these in. There's really no way to get your hands in here when the cone's in it. It's just not enough work room. Larger subs, you'll definitely have that room. Normally they're pretty accessible and you can solder the leads later on, but not on this 8. So let me go ahead and get some shims and we'll show you how to shim up this Recone. Okay, so the shims work to separate the former, which is the inner part of your coil, from the pull vent. You want to evenly space it all the way around, so you use a shim. The shim's going to go in a circle and fit inside, and they go in the gap between the former and the pull. You want them clean. You want them to be pretty rigid material. A cardstock works. I've seen a bunch of different ways. DC provides these shims pre-cut. If you order a shim kit, you can get that on my website, jeepandbase.com, along with any of your DC audio product. We do Recone sales and new sales. But what I'm going to do is fit this one inside, I think this way. That's how I had it set up. I made these myself. I cut them up from some 12 shims. But you get them kind of in there, down in there snug. You want it to touch the bottom. Unless you can't reach it, then you don't want it all the way in there. But you notice what I did there was offset the gap on this so that the open side on the other one is over there. As you can tell, it's on the opposite end from this one. That helps you center them better. Once I kind of set those in, I pull this out and I actually force the shim down at the bottom, kind of line them up. And make sure you have enough shim you can grab onto later and pull them back out. So now this is ready to actually install this whole top assembly here. I mean the spider. So set that right here, make sure it stays clean, and make sure your shim stays in it. Do your last check up on the gap. I think I see one speck I want to pull out real quick. Sometimes you move things and you find a little more dirt. So I'm gonna go get that guy out of there best I can. Let's do a last visual on it because this is the last time you get to go in there and look at it for cleaning. Like I sometimes use these Q-tips to help the tape stick, and then you can pull the tape off and it takes metal. So I think we're ready to go. So another thing you're gonna need when you order a Recone kit is CA glue, its activator, or accelerant really, and rubber adhesive. These three things are what you need. This can be substituted with E6000 that can be bought at your local hardware store. And CA glue could kind of be substituted by like a hobby store CA glue. But I really like the black stuff. I'd recommend using it. You can get that from DC Audio with your Recone. It's I believe I think these are included, and I think the shim kit's like another $8. So when you order from me, you just have to specify that's what you need. Otherwise, you can make shims out of cardstock, like I said. So let's go ahead and get ready to drop this in. I'm gonna open up the CA glue. Be careful with CA glue. It is very crazy stuff. It will stick to everything. It burns. It even makes fumes that burn your eyes. So if you're getting kind of too close to it, you're gonna actually burn your eyes. And I've heard of people gluing their eyes shut from just the fumes. So you just be careful with this stuff. It's not like it comes at you, but if you're getting too close, it can mess you up. It burns pretty good, I know that. So at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and lay a pretty good bead all the way around the spider landing. I mean, I'm about a good 8 or 10 inches away from it, and it's not bugging me. But be cautious. This stuff is very toxic, chemical, and it burns. I've had it burn my eyes before. Never glue them shut though, thank God. So I don't know what you do when that happens. But if you notice a little bit of burning in your eye, just back off from it. It helps too to maybe have a small fan next to you. You don't want it going too fast because you don't want the stuff to dry out prematurely, but just to keep the fumes away from yourself. I'm gonna go shut this compressor off. Okay, so we dropped this in. These 8s are pretty easy to line up. They kind of fall into place. You just make sure whenever you're reconing your sub that your tensile leads are lined up with where the terminals are. You don't want to have them way off and then you'll never get the thing hooked up. So since this has the ring, it's real simple. I just use these big spring clamps and put 4 of them on there to hold the ring down onto the basket. It should definitely sit flat. And you might see a little bit of CA glue ooze out. That's what it's supposed to do. Once you get your clamps down, now it's time to start putting in the terminals. These you don't have to solder because they come pre-soldered. You only have to bolt them in. We got a little bag here. Little push terminals. And when you recone, you save these little colored things because they don't come. Yes, they're not easy to find. But you definitely save your terminals and everything with them, all the little hardware. You start either with a red or black one. The red is positive, and it goes on your left-hand side. So if you're looking at a set of terminals this way, this is the red one, the left-hand side. On the other side, you're gonna be looking at it from coming in that way. This is the left-hand side from that way. That would be your positive red. It's the left-hand side of what view you're looking from. And these kind of are hard to put in. You see, they kind of get stuck. You just compress them and then they'll clear the motor and pop in the hole. Let's get them up in the basket here. And then you're gonna go ahead and take your tensile, as so. Make sure your shims are in there really good, by the way. And the tensile lead plugs on first. You want to make it so it doesn't really touch any metal basket parts. You're going to put your little lock washer on. And it might be kind of magnetic in here, so you're going to fight keeping this washer where it goes. So hold it down on there and bring your little nut. Slip it down on there too. Okay, then I hold the nut with my thumb and I spin the terminal from below to get it threading. Start threading, because it's impossible to do it from top. But it starts threading as soon as you spin that. And then for this sub, I'm using a 7mm and a pair of needle nose pliers. What I do is I line up the terminal so that it's sticking the way I want it to. So that you can put the wire in, you know, the little hole facing out. Put my needle nose in there, hold it, and then take my 7mm and start tightening this down. You don't want to let the terminal spin, you want to keep it pointed the way you like it. And then you also keep an eye on this ring terminal for the tensile lead. Make sure it's not really contacting the basket at all. And if you need to rotate it at all, you do it now. Make sure it's in place. And then we'll go ahead and do our final tighten. You don't have to go crazy on that thing because you can break them. But there's one terminal in. And if you like where it is, then you go ahead and take some of the rubber adhesive you have and you put a dab on the nut so that it doesn't get loose ever and fall off while you're playing your stereo, because that would be terrible. And I think my adhesive bottle is gotta be opened. You put a dab on the nut here. I don't need a lot, just a little bit. I'll keep it from spinning at some point while you're playing them. So you can kind of see I put the little dab on there, and then you gotta clean the little excess. So that's how you do them. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other three. You just wanna leave them like that. They're gonna be okay this way. You could even bend this up a little bit so it's up out of the way, and you're good to go. So we'll go ahead and bolt the other ones down, and then we're gonna show you how to install the cone next. So don't disrupt your spider. You wanna keep it in there. And if you really want to, you can take some of your activator and go ahead and spray it around just to set off some of the CI glue you put on earlier. It will dry on its own, but this will speed up the process so you don't mess it up. So now I can go ahead and continue putting these on, and we'll show you where we're at. Okay, so we've got all our little terminals hooked up, got them all glued in, and they're real secure. We've still got the spider clamp down, and we've still got shims in it. Don't move any of that stuff. We're gonna take our measurement of the coils here and make sure everything's good. Let's hook up a pair. Should be about 4 ohms, give or take. 3.6 is where these keep coming out, so that's fine. And then we'll check the other side also. .5, 3.6, so it's good to go. It's a dual 4 ohm sub, so being a little bit lower is okay. Means the amp's gonna be a little more powerful. So anyway, now it's time to think about this cone. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure there's no dust and dirt on it, and you're gonna drop it in over these shims and onto your spider and line it up to where the hole is matching like that. Doesn't matter which way, it just has to be lined up. You're gonna make sure it stays right there. You're gonna get your CI glue right there. And the guys, hopefully I won't block your view of this, but we're gonna glue the cone to the former now. What I like to do is I put a pretty, let's see, this rubber, this is CA. I got a Open it up. Okay. Put a pretty generous bead for the first one around here. I'm gonna open this up a little more. Can't hardly get any out. Okay, so we're gonna fill a pretty good bead. Don't go crazy, but fill up a little bit so there's kind of a puddle all the way around. And then there's a little bit of a gap between the former and the cone, and you're gonna want to run some of that down into it. So you're gonna shake the cone up and down and side to side, kind of sink some of that CA glue so it's kind of in and around and below. And you'll look down on the bottom of the sub and see a pretty good portion of it in the spider landing area. Let's see if I can show you guys. You can barely see there's a puddle formed at the bottom of the cone. Can't really tell though. But trust me, it's there. Once you got that established, we're gonna go around, make sure you close your CA glue. And you're gonna go around with your activator, spray it on, and also come down and spray the glue that came down onto the spider down here. Spin the sub. Okay, so that's your first bead of CI glue to make sure the cone is stuck good. Now I'm going to do a few more beads since that kind of all drained through down into the bottom. You want to fill this up a few more times, but you don't want to go too heavy. You just want to make a pretty shallow little bead all the way around here, and it kind of flows into place. So it's pretty well attached. Go ahead and close up all your glues, and next thing is going to be getting your rubber adhesive back out. Make sure you cut the top open a little bit so you can get some volume out while you're applying it. And get yourself a bunch of clamps. This little sub, I use these little clothes hangers. To work better, you have a nice assortment of clamps. That always is good. Collecting them right now off my other sub over here. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and fold this around kind of up, and it kind of sometimes will stay up, other times you have to hold it. This one's gonna make me hold it, but you fold this up in a way best you can. Take your adhesive bottle and go pretty quick on this stuff because it starts setting really quick. And you're not going to be going crazy, but put a decent amount. Make sure you go a lot around that speaker hole. And just keep holding that surround up as you go around it. This stuff does not use activator, it just air dries, so it goes pretty quick. So you want to get around this thing fairly fast, within a minute or two. And get it really good around the speaker holes, the screw holes. We'll replace the cap on here after we wipe the bottle a little bit on your napkin. And now we start doing the clamp process. So I like to kind of help it sit where it wants to, and then put my little clamps right on the screw hole on each side of it first. I think the screw holes are most important because it seems like that's where it rips up all the time if you don't get enough sticking. And there's all those. And if you're not going to move it anymore at this point, it's probably okay to take a shim out. You can wait till it's dry too, that's fine. And leave it alone for a little while. And the last thing you're going to end up doing is the dust cap here. I have a little dust cap. So I'm going to let that set up and show you that. Okay, so I've been letting this sit for about 20 or 30 minutes, which is plenty enough time to at least drop the dust cap on there without disturbing much. You're gonna make sure that your dust cap's real clean. You don't want a bunch of stuff on it either. And then you're gonna make sure you scuff the edges of the cap so that it glues on really well. DC already did that for me, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna get that rubber adhesive back out. And we're also going to get our blue tape back out. And what you're going to do is tear off a piece. And put it in a loop. Stick it on your cap as a handle. So now you can actually pick the cap up and do things. So we're going to go ahead and take our rubber adhesive now. And put a pretty good little bead here on the cap. I put it right on the inside the lip because it's going to end up oozing out anyways. And you don't want to be too crazy with this because it'll make a mess and look really bad on your speaker if you overdo it. But you don't want to underdo it because then it's not going to stay on. So I just put them up on that ridge instead of out by the edge of the cap. I'm going to hold it by the tape and decide what the top of the sub is. I'm going to rotate this so that the terminals are on the left and right sides and that this faces up. On this sub, the holes are offset so that the center is actually between these two holes. So you're going to place your cap down in there carefully, and you're going to line up the words now. You can kind of spin this, and you line up the centering of the cap. Then you're going to take your roll of tape, place it on the center of the cap. I like to grab an alternator or something that's pretty heavy and place it right there. And you'll see the cap squeeze down and just make sure it stays aligned where you like it. And you're gonna let it sit. It's gonna sit for an hour or so, or even overnight, that's fine. And you'll have a completed little sub, like these two. If I could pull this off the tripod, I suppose. So now I just need to wipe off any dust and scuffs. Don't want to scuff them too much if they're brand new, but I got two right here already built up. And these will be going in my Honda pretty soon. Just gonna let it sit for a night or two to completely set up. But you get a cool little woofer. So we'll let that guy set, and we'll have some playable speakers. Hopefully that helped you guys recon these little 8s. If you like the video, go ahead and subscribe and hit the notifications bell that's right by the subscribe button. Please like the video and go check out my website, jeepandbase.com. If you want to see updates more often, you can go to Instagram. My name is in the description. It's Too Loud For You on Instagram. Or you can follow us on Facebook at Jeep and Base Official. And you'll always get to see cool stuff like this, probably more often than you see it on YouTube. So go ahead and check that stuff out. I really appreciate it. If you need any DC audio product, box designs, or full throttle, I'm a dealer for those, and you can get them on my website, jeepandbase.com. Thanks again, guys. We'll see you next time.